course, you know what we have been doing. We've been doing just the first topic, which is Jnana Yoga.
Yoga.
And we actually, in the last session, we had finished up to 10 shlokas, right? 4 plus 4, 8. No. 4 plus
12.
Yeah, 12.
12 and 3, 15.
Yeah, 15 shlokas we have finished. So now we are looking at 16 to 20. So, 3 shlokas from topic 5 and 2 shlokas, that is the remaining 3 shlokas of topic 5 and 2 shlokas from topic 6. That was the plan for today. But, I had actually put together, so that recap sign you can see on the extreme left, on top, saying that this is from the last session. So we have done this from the last session, that is, and I'll just, quickly run through. So the 5 I have, that is, you can see the shloka numbers, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. This is what I have from the last session. I thought I'll just quickly run through this. Then, of course, I have the session for today, which perhaps we can do the next time. So purely in terms of the flow, so maybe I will speak a little bit about the person who's, let me. So the person who has created this 93 shlokas as the key of the Bhagavad Gita is actually a scientist. His name is Dr. N.K. Srinivasan, and he studied in Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and then he did his PhD in Columbia University. Then he was working for BARC and ISRO and DRDO. So he is the one who has chosen this. So I would just leave it open. I don't know whether you want to go through what we did the last time, and maybe you want to ask questions on this, share your thoughts on this. Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatparah samyatendra. Jnanam labdva parashanti. So I'll just stop here for a moment, and I will continue to have it on display, but anybody can actually unmute and ask a question or share a thought on this.
I have asked the question on chat, Raj.
You asked a question on chat. Let me check. I can't. Yeah, right. Okay. Adding word yoga, is it the idea of Gita or some commentators? Okay. That's a very, very interesting question, because if you look at the Bhagavad Gita itself, within the Bhagavad Gita, there are a few places when there is a stress on Buddhi Yoga, Karma Yogi. So they are a part of the shloka itself. They are a part of the structure of the Bhagavad Gita itself. So it is not that there is someone from outside who has added it. It is a part of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, the chapter names have been given by commentators. So chapter names being given by commentators is one aspect, but the word yoga occurring within, in fact, it has occurred many times. It has occurred independently as well as in conjunction with karma yoga, karma yogi, bhakti yogi, buddhi yogi. So to answer your question, it has not been invented by commentators as a word itself. It's a part of the Gita.
Does it really signify the original meaning? Yoga means addition in some sense for every word.
Well, you have to understand what yoga actually means in the context of a spiritual endeavor. So yoga means how you are able to unite yourself with the supreme energy or supreme power or the Brahman or Paramatma. So yog karne ka jo method hai. So yog is both a noun and a verb. So it's a noun when it is describing a process. It is a verb when you are in the process. So आप जो है कर्म योग के process से आप कर्म योग करते हैं. So therefore, it is very clearly a method, and therefore you can have. In fact, for that matter, if you are to take a more down to earth meaning, and I would only say, to give an example from engineering, let us say, you need to have a finished product. Then the process is the yog process, so that from unfinished product you go to finished product, or जो path है उसको change करने का, that is called yog. So anything which will take you from level A to level B or state A to state B is called a yogic process. Yog means जोड़ना. तो state A को state B के साथ जो जोड़ता है, that is called yog. That's the very simple meaning of the word itself. Of course, for human beings, spiritual development, you have karma yog, bhakti yog, jnana yog. So yog means जोड़ना.
तो कर्म योग में किससे जोड़ रहे हैं, ज्ञान योग में किससे जोड़ रहे हैं, भक्ति योग में किससे जोड़ रहे हैं?
So in all these spiritual yoga, you are uniting your present self, जैसे भी आप हैं, to a better version of yourself, more spiritual version of yourself.
Okay.
And the path is different. Like you may have a finishing process which is different. So the path is karma yoga, bhakti yoga, or jnana yoga. But yoga itself is from level 1 of the individual to level 2 of the individual, maybe more self-controlled individual, maybe more happy individual. That depends upon the particular situation.
Good. I got the point.
Yeah. Okay. So if there are any questions around this particular shloka, or any question, just general open question. So let me check. Deepak is there. Deepak, you have any questions?
Deepak, you can unmute her.
No, thank you. Not now.
Okay. Okay.
Vishwarup, you want to say anything?
Unmute करना होगा.
हाँ, तो you are already in an ashram, so some energies must be coming to your mind.
So apparently the latest information is that the match has been drawn.
This is a state of supreme peace, what we call it here. Is this the same as a moksha?
देखिए, हाँ, मोक्ष, यस, सुप्रीम पीस. देखिए, मोक्ष का मीनिंग ये है कि आपके पास कोई कमी नहीं है. आपको ना ही तो फाइनेंशियल कमी है, ना आपको कोई जो है कमी है. तो जो भी कमियां दिखती हैं हमको, इट इज ऑल इन द माइंड. अब आई कैन बी हैप्पी विद 10 rupees इन माई पॉकेट, आई कैन बी अनहैप्पी विद 5 million rupees इन माई पॉकेट. सो द मोमेंट वी आर एबल टू रीच a situation when I don't need anything and I'm still alive, okay? You don't need anything when you're dead, there is no doubt about that. But when you're alive and still you don't need anything, that is, you're not dissatisfied with anything. Jo hai so hai. That is called,
that is a state of supreme peace.
हाँ, supreme peace. ना आपको कोई किसी की कोई चिंता नहीं है ना. See, it is not that you become indifferent. It is simply that it does not make a difference. देखिए, इंडिफरेंस तो आपको जो तामसिक हो गया, बट नॉट हैविंग, हाँ, सी यू कैन शट योर आईज एंड यू कैन शट एवरीथिंग एंड से यू कैन गो द नेगेटिव वे ऑफ बीइंग इंडिफरेंट, बट देयर इज अ पॉजिटिव वे ऑफ नॉट बीइंग अफेक्टेड. माने एकदम कूल हैं आप, किसी की चिंता नहीं.
Raj?
Yeah. Yes, Vishwarup.
Actually, I just want to add something. There are two things about life. One is Sukh and one is Anand.
Okay.
Anand is internal happiness.
Correct.
And Sukh is external happiness. Anand is, if you reach the supreme peace, you will get internal happiness. That is Anand. Sukh is, that's what I heard in one of the speeches in our ashram, where they have differentiate heavenly happiness and human happiness. Human happiness is Sukh, that is temporary, but heavenly happiness, which is Anand, it is a permanent happiness.
True. So, see, having my favorite ice cream is Sukh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but not being attracted by the ice cream is Anand.
Yes.
Right. So if I'm constantly bothered by the ice cream every day, I didn't have ice cream, then
दुख हो
I
गया.
have got no business to say that मैं आनंद,
But
because Anand means I don't have any want. So obviously having an ice cream gives you sukh, because whatever flavor you like will make your taste buds happy. But to be constantly bothered by the ice cream and its absence is counter to Anand.
I would like to say, Ram, here that in this way, with this kind of examples, what happens is that people feel that the detachment is the path to Anand.
Exactly.
Yeah, detachment, where it's not that you say no to the ice cream. Correct. You are having the ice cream, but the absence of ice cream is not going to cause you mental agitation. That is the point. So you normally take it to mean that I will not have ice cream throughout my life. No,
আমার তো
it's
সঙ্গে
not
কথা
like
হয়ে
that.
গেছে তুই কোথায় এতক্ষণ থাকছো তোকে দুবার খুঁজে গেছে
मुझको अगर
তোমাকে 2-3 বার খুঁজে গেছে
वर्डली जो मेरे को वर्डली चीजें अट्रैक्ट करती हैं, अगर मैं अपने आप को डिटैच कर लेता हूँ तो that also, मतलब I think it is a matter of psychiatric judgment then, rather than a spiritual judgment. मैं थोड़ा सा साइकेट्रिक के बारे में भी पढ़ता हूँ, तो रियलाइजेशन होता है कि ऐसी स्टेट जो है जिसको हम लोग मतलब अपने आप को आनंद में मानते हैं, कभी कभी वो स्टेट हम लोगों की ऐसी स्टेट होती है जो कि शायद नहीं होनी चाहिए. इट इज ए काइंड ऑफ समटाइम्स साइकिट्रिक वाले उसको डिजीज मानते हैं, बिकॉज वो मतलब वर्चुअली आई होती है, वो किसी हमारे इंटरनल बायोकेमिस्ट्री, हमारी केमिस्ट्री चेंज होने की वजह से आई होती है.
Yeah, see, psychiatry does have got its own theories of human behavior, but mostly you would find that, psychiatry deals with minds which are not diseased. I mean, which are diseased minds. And that is a basic difference between Indian psychology and Western psychology and psychiatry. So Indian psychology is based on a very healthy mind and how to make that mind more healthy, whereas Western psychiatry, the very basis of psychiatry and psychology is to study unnatural states of thinking, unnatural, unhealthy states of thinking. Therefore, I've been through, I've done a lot of reading into psychology and psychiatry. And generally, my own take on the matter is that they have a lot to learn from Indian psychology, rather than we having to learn from them. Because as far as psychology and psychiatry is concerned, the entire Indian tradition is far stronger than the Western. Westerners, they can define a lot of things, but they cannot understand why.
मैंने देखा है कि कई बार जो है ना ये
A lot of background noise, Vishwarup. Is it from the ashram?
Please mute. Please mute him.
Vishwarup, there is a lot of noise from, yeah, he has muted actually.
No, not yet, not yet.
Please mute him. Please mute him.
Okay, muted.
Okay, right. Okay, yes. So there was a question that you had.
Yeah. Vishwarup was explaining Anand. Actually, my take is that I have seen many cases who claim to be knowing about lot of ancient things. They sometimes behaves like schizophrenics.
Yeah.
And particular behavior is delusions.
Correct.
So delusions means they feel that they are hearing something extraterrestrial. These kind of behavior is observed often, and especially in this zone, so many people are like that.
Correct.
जो अपने आप को साधु सन्यासी कहते हैं और या किसी साधु सन्यासी के पीछे हो लिए होते हैं.
Correct, absolutely.
तो उनमें ऐसा बिहेवियर भी देखा जाता है जो कि हम लोग टिपिकली शिजोफ्रेनिक्स मानते हैं.
बिल्कुल correct, absolutely correct. So you see, such behavior is not the standard by which we should judge correct spirituality. So the point is that a lot of maladjusted people run towards spirituality, and therefore in the original Indian tradition, spirituality and the pursuit of the higher self was not recommended until you have actually done your job as a grahastha. So if you find many of these people who have all these problems, they would not have led a very happy life either as a student or as a grahast or as a professional.
Yeah.
So they're all maladjusted individuals who suddenly find that because of the Indian tendency to respect spirituality and religious symbolism, they can easily make a living by speaking about spirituality and religious symbols.
Yes, yes.
Therefore, a lot of these people, I mean, you can make them out. You can make them out very clearly. So they will be saying the things that sound like spirituality, but they have not changed themselves. Because, see, it takes any human being just a few seconds to realize whether the person is an adjusted person or maladjusted person. Any normal human being, see whether the person is speaking spirituality or not, you can sense, because you have that vibration that emerges from the individual. And therefore you're very right when you say that a lot of maladjusted people who have not found solutions to their own lives find that it is very easy to make a living by wearing the Ochar robe and by saying Bhagavad Gita, which is the greatest danger of such scriptures. I agree with you.
Yes, yes.
And that's why it is called Kali Yuga, right? In Kali Yuga, you don't know how to make out a good guru from a bad one. And that's the biggest challenge that we have, because Shankaracharya also says that many times the people who wear these robes or preach are doing it only for the sake of their stomach. Papi pet ka sawal hai, jaisa hum kehte hain. So uske chakkar, and it's easy to earn money in India, by having a pretense of holiness. So maladjusted. So therefore, the sad thing is, because of such maladjusted people being wrong examples, genuinely sincere people get put off from the entire pursuit, and you have just no way of addressing that issue other than by personal example. Correct. So people have to see you in all kinds of situations. Only then they will know whether you are genuine or not. Otherwise, you see, what happens is people generally put on a front where they are very holy, and it happens. It happens in every part of India, especially rural India, and also you see the ultra rich of India are also as subject to superstitions as anyone else. So they are highly gullible people, and that is because they don't read the basic. I mean, my own point there is, maybe see, we can only speak from our perspective. My perspective is people just are not given enough knowledge about our scriptures when they are children in schools and colleges, and therefore they are an easy prey to this entire confidence, trickster, I call them. They just jadoo tona, because they are all good speakers, they would know the terminology, and yeah. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. Yeah, Sunil. Yeah, Sunil G to Sunil.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Sunil.
No, I don't want. I don't have anything to add now.
Okay, fine. So Sunil Ji has asked the question. Vishwarup has asked the question. Deepak has said that he has nothing to ask today.
Shall I ask one more thing?
Oh, absolutely, sir. I'm happy if I can answer.
This word Shraddha.
Yeah.
It's rather a complex word, actually, I feel.
Yeah.
Because normally, again, Shraddha word, people still relate to religious part of it.
Correct.
But the Shraddha towards your whosoever idol is there. But can this Shraddha be equated to faith in that sense?
Yeah, in English, it is translated as faith only, but faith has got multiple meanings in English. So I would say that Shraddha is a word where you are extrapolating into the future on the basis of a certain understanding of how the future will behave. That is what is Shraddha. Okay, you say the sun will rise tomorrow. Sun will rise in the east. Okay, that's Shraddha, right? I mean, that's a very simple example of Shraddha. This process of pranayam will work for me. That's Shraddha. So whenever you do something, so the point in yoga, that is, we said yoga is going from level A to level B. The fact that your process will take you to level B before you start the process, that is Shraddha. So Shraddha is to be found everywhere. The whole question is, what is it that you have to believe in? Now, if you say that you have to believe in science, people have Shraddha. You know, law of physics will work tomorrow as it will work today. So there is Shraddha because it is science. But suppose I say that aap roz pranayam karo and you will find peace of mind, then that is not subject to Shraddha because it is so-called untested. But the fact is that pranayam has been tested over many centuries. Now, nobody is going to have a public, of course, even now there are a lot of published papers also, but generally I'm saying, suppose somebody tells you, you chant Mahamantra, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, you chant it 16 malas, 16 into 108 times every day. And after 5 years, you will get, full understanding. Now it becomes a matter of faith, right? Who says, is it a scientist who's saying, is it a guru who's saying, is it a book who is saying? So this is a process which has been followed by someone else, and you're asked to believe in the process. So you can as well say, and I keep using the law of physics as an example, how do you know the law of gravitation works? How do you know it was enunciated by Newton? Did you actually read the paper? You're only reading a textbook. How are you sure it is correct? So all these are questions which are also questions attacking the faith of people. So faith is a complex word, and unfortunately it is used for superstitious beliefs. So if I have Shraddha in something which is a superstition, then I am not in the right direction. But if I have Shraddha in a process, because a lot of people with false capabilities are also talking about, and you see, I mean, I will give you a simple, see, whether we talk about, see, this whole question of branding my spirituality, whether you take Sadhguru or Sri Sri or anybody, they will say my path is the best path. Okay, and they will give Isha Yoga. Okay, Isha Yoga is the same thing as Hatha Yoga. Usko Isha Yoga deke, or Sri Sri has got Sudarshan Kriya. Right. So simply playing around with Sanskrit terminology is like modern branding gimmicks. And that is what reduces the belief system, because I can easily question, where is Sudarshan Kriya in the Indian tradition? He is doing the same thing. It's found as a part of the tradition. Isha Yoga also I was doing, they have got Anga Mardana. It is same as Sukshma Vyayam. Okay, same Sukshma Vyayam which is taught by. So people who don't brand their offerings are not important. For example, if you take the Bihar School of Yoga in Munger, which was founded by Swami Satyananda Saraswati, who was a disciple of Swami Shivananda of Divine Life Society. उन्होंने कुछ ब्रांडिंग नहीं किया. वो कहते हैं ये जो है क्रिया योग है, जैसे कि हमारे पतंजलि योग सूत्र ने बताया है. ये भक्ति योग है या जो भी है, ये कुंडलिनी योग है, इसका जो है origin ये तंत्र है. So they don't brand anything. So they are not that popular. Then I know I can suddenly descend on the field. Isha Yoga, I have discovered one Adi Yogi. Adi Yogi is nothing but Shiva. Okay. Shiva को Adi Yogi का brand name देके. So the point is that if you are an enlightened person, should you really start an ashram? But the whole point is it's a double-edged sword. If you don't start an ashram and you're enlightened, then at least the people who could benefit may not benefit. People who know will not come to you. Correct. People who already know, for example, there is nobody from some of the older mutts who will actually go to Sri Sri, because Sri Sri is giving the message at a very flimsy level, according to me. He does not go in depth. But if I say this in front of any Sri Sri devotee, they'll come and beat me up. Correct. So it's a branding ka chakkar hai, in one sense. That's my own belief. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Actually, what you are talking is that some people are making it a kind of cult.
Correct.
So cult means a group of people will become so aggressive about things.
Correct.
That either you believe in this system or you do not know anything.
Correct. जैसे कि हमारे अंग्रेजी में बोलते हैं ना, माई वे और हाईवे.
माई वे और हाईवे, यस.
इस्कॉन में ये बहुत चलता है, माई वे और हाईवे बहुत चलता है उनका. अगर आप प्रभुपादा के बातों को नहीं मानते हो तो or they have a feeling that they have a patent on Krishna. Only they can talk about Krishna. Nobody can. I found it very amusing actually. बहुत क्योंकि भाई see Krishna Bhakti is there all over India.
That's why they say Krishna consciousness.
Krishna consciousness.
That's what is ISKCON.
Correct. So therefore it's a cult, no? Because you see they have an image of Prabhupada also kept, of course, not along with the deity, it's kept by the side. And Prabhupada's teachings are important. Jo Prabhupada bola, wohi. See, every religious, every parampara's founder is a cult, right? Shankaracharya is a cult.
Yes.
Because there also you have Shankaracharya's image. No doubt he may be the most brilliant man, the most brilliant philosopher, but that's also a cult. So the point is, what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita is, you go beyond the cult. You understand the funda and go beyond the cult. So in my own journey, I have found that it makes more sense to pay attention to what is said in the Gita rather than who said what about the Gita. This who business brings the personality, but what is being said brings the neutrality of understanding. But all people don't have the patience to go through the Gita, and therefore there's a big problem, right? So someone has to step up. So, I mean, I can sit quiet saying I've understood the Gita, but that doesn't help people. So, as aap keh rahe the, you have to at least kuch na kuch to chhod ke jana hai na. So, there's a plus and a minus. Right? So, if people like something, so you should be neutral. You should not make a cult out of whatever you do. That is my point. So there are a lot of, for example, Ramana Maharshi did not make a cult out of himself at all. He was most down to earth. Kuch bhi nahi. And I know this Swami Virajeshwara also, no cult at all. So there are a lot of very good Swamis who don't make a cult around themselves. Right? They help genuinely sincere seekers who come to them. They genuinely help them. And there are a lot of people like that. And there are more publicity-minded people whose only job is, more and more publicity to themselves. That's it.
नहीं, आजकल प्रॉब्लम वैसे भी है ना कि मेरे बच्चे को कितना पैकेज मिलता है वाली बात.
Correct.
So everything becomes a kind of package. तो स्वामी जी भी पैकेज प्रोड्यूस करने लगे हैं आपके लिए.
Right. So then you come there and then you spend so much time in the ashram, you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take the laddu and go. So it doesn't help. So personally, I find that reading books is of greater value to me than actually going to some ashram, because the Swami will be saying the same thing. He's not going to say anything different. Also, one more very interesting observation which I'd like to share with you is, see, you must go to the original teachings of anybody. If you go to Sadhguru also, Isha, you should look at his first books. They're all very sincere before he became famous. But after he becomes famous, then it's all full of lot of more of cult and less of substance. Right? So once they become popular, they try to take off, and then you see he starts catering to the Western disciples because they bring in the money, right? So he has changed a lot of his teachings, which was hardcore Hindu earlier on, and now it will become soft peddling on issues because it would not appeal to the Western disciples. So once you start playing to the gallery, then you're finished. No? Then you're a cult, and then you're finished also. Chaliye, sir. So I think it's 1:12 now, so we can end the session here. I don't know. I hope this discussion was of value to Sunil and to Vishwarup and to Deepak.
Yes, it was definitely valuable. I did learn something new from you.
Thank you so much, Sunil ji. I think you have been such a great support in this entire endeavor. I don't know what to do. I'm going to come to Lucknow and hug you.
Obviously, after vaccination. After vaccination.
Absolutely.
Allowed after
Absolutely.
vaccination.
Point fully taken. Point fully taken. On that very, very, I don't know, हमें सुख है या आनंद है इस हंसी में, जैसा आप समझें. On that note, let's end the session today.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy to meet up again next Sunday. Is that okay?
Sunday 12:15 again?
Yeah, same 12:15. That's the time that we set. So, I mean, are you okay with that time?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, fine.
That's,
Cool.
for everybody, it is okay, I think.
Yeah, 12:15 next Sunday should be okay.
Okay then.
Okay, take care. Bye.